Hello, and welcome to Candidates Up Front. This is the public interest election program of Berks Community Television and the League of Women Voters of Berks County. I'm Judith Cranus, a member of the League. Our November 5th general election is coming up, and we will be voting for both state officials and federal officials. The deadline to register is Monday, October 21st. The League is interviewing candidates in contested races, those who wanted to be interviewed. And for each race, the candidates will get the same basic questions and will have the same amount of time to answer them. Two candidates are competing in the 129th PA House District, Democrat Yohanny Cepeda Freitas and Republican Susan G. Larkin. The district includes West Reading, Wyomissing, Sinking Spring, and parts of the city of Reading and Spring Township. State representatives serve a two-year term in Harrisburg. They initiate legislation and vote to create laws. They pass the budget, including taxes and expenditures of the state. They help constituents with issues regarding state government. The salary for a state representative is $106,422 per year, plus benefits and expenses. Now, please remember that the opinions expressed in this interview are those of the candidate and not the opinions of the League of Women Voters or of Berks Community Television. Our interview now is with Yohanny Cepeda Freitas, and she is the incumbent. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And Ms. Cepeda Freitas, would you please tell our viewers about yourself and why you're running?
Oh, absolutely. So first, thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you, Judith, for having me here and for creating a space for voters to be informed. My name is Yohanny Cepeda Freitas, and I'm actually the current state representative of the 129th Legislative District. It's been an honor to serve my community and my district in the 129th. And, you know, these first 2 years while I've been in office have been quite the learning experience. I've been listening, I've been learning, and I've also been initiating bills, and I've had some bills passed and that have had major impacts in our community. And so I want to continue the work of serving the people. I love helping my community. I love listening. I love gathering input from members of our community and get our community to understand that this is a collective effort, that everyone should partake in the process of government and in creating laws and enacting laws. And so here I am, and looking forward to voters giving me another opportunity and be re-elected to continue to serve.
Thank you. What are the two most compelling issues that you, if elected, where you feel you could make a difference?
Wow. So when I first started this journey, education was one of my top priorities. And I have to say we've had great strides with this last budget that we passed. We've made, we've invested a historic, record-breaking amount of money in trying to correct how we fund our schools and to make sure that we're providing all of our students, regardless of where they reside in our Commonwealth, an equitable education. And so while we've made major investments, it's still not enough. We still have schools that still need more infrastructure investments. We still need more teachers. We still need more toxic-free environments in our schools. And so I want to go back to Harrisburg to continue to work on finding a more permanent solution for the way we fund our schools and to make sure that every child that we invest the adequate amount of money. I also want to say that obviously in this last budget that we passed, we also made some charter school reform so that we are saving our public schools more money and making sure that we're holding our charter schools to the same standard as we do our public schools.
Good.
And you asked me for a second one. I apologize.
That's okay, because we're going to get back to schools later, so
sounds
maybe we'll
good.
substitute and put that in
All
there.
right, sounds good.
But first I have some election questions. Do you think Pennsylvania's elections are fair?
I do believe our elections are fair. We have a great staff in place that have been properly trained to account for every vote that comes in. What I do believe is that we have to make voting more accessible. We have to make it easier for people to go vote. We have to keep in mind that there are folks that have disabilities and impairments that prevent them from getting to the voting booth. And so I believe that mail-in ballots should be automatic. They should be sent to everyone. I believe we should have same-day voting registration so that more people can get to the ballot box. And we should have earlier voting and include even some voting centers, because there are folks that maybe their working schedule doesn't allow them to get to the voting booth, or maybe they forgot to request their mail-in ballot. And so I just want to make it more accessible.
Okay. And Will you support the results of the election as certified by the county?
Absolutely.
And you'll support that at all levels of government?
Absolutely.
Okay. Both parties say they are pro-family, but they seem to propose and vote for different things. What legislation do you feel is pro-family?
Well, pro-family legislation to me is the one that's going to make childcare affordable, the ones that's going to have Family Medical Pay Leave Act, because we understand that as families, we're caretakers. Not only do we take care of our children, but sometimes we have to take care of our parents when they become ill. And so when we talk about pro-family, it's enacting legislation that's going to support the family as a whole and all the needs of a family.
And would changing the minimum wage be part
Oh,
of that
absolutely.
process?
And if I may share, Judith, you know, one of the many bills that we've passed in the House has been an increase to minimum wage, but unfortunately, a lot of the bills that we pass in the House get stuck in the Senate because we are mindful of the needs of our community. And increasing the minimum wage is another item that's on my top priority list. And I think when we get back to Harrisburg, when we start this new term, and I'm hoping that you know, our members in the House and in the Senate as it relates to Democrats expand so that we can finally raise the minimum wage and give our community the economic relief that they desperately need.
Mm-hmm. What specific ideas would you have to increase the supply and quality of affordable housing and to preserve the existing affordable housing that we have now?
So we know that we have a shortage. There's a shortage of housing in the marketplace. What we've done in the House in these past 2 years, or actually I think in this most recent year, we have enacted legislation in the House. Again, it's stuck in the Senate, that will allow buildings such as malls to be turned into commercial use to create more opportunities for apartments and commercial spaces, because we've realized that there's a lot of these mall spaces, a lot of spaces that are becoming vacant. When we look at our Berkshire Mall, there's a lot of stores that are empty. There's a lot of vacant slots. And so how do we know we have a need. And so some of my colleagues and I voted in favor of legislation that's going to turn some of these buildings into opportunities for more housing and more affordable housing at that.
Mm-hmm. Back to the school issue. Mm-hmm. The Constitution says the state's going to provide 50%. We're not there yet. And if the state is going to provide at that level, it's going to have an impact on taxes. So how would you address the tax issue? I mean, right now they're not doing it. The predominant tax is the the property tax on your house where you live, which is difficult for many people. Mm-hmm. So would you increase the income tax, the sales tax, create new taxes? How would you deal with that?
Sure. So in this year's budget, while we're working on a budget, I mean, there was a commission in place to do a study and assess how we fund our schools. And so, and part of that plan and part of that discussion, part of the budget negotiations, there was a plan to invest, you know, over $1.1 billion into school funding, which check, we got it done. But there was also a plan in place so that every year there'd be additional funding to some of the schools, such as the Reading School District, who've been historically underfunded for numerous years. And so, unfortunately, that part of the arrangement didn't make it onto the budget. And so here we have an opportunity. I want to go back to make sure that we're working on adequately funding all of our schools without increasing taxes, because we managed to pass a budget this time around and we didn't increase any property taxes. And so there's definitely a way, you know, as I mentioned prior, we were negotiating and we had like a 7-year plan that we were going to work towards making sure that every year we were giving additional funding to those schools that have been historically underfunded. And so there's a plan in place. It's just that we need to revisit it, perhaps make some amendments and changes to make it to make it so that every member of the House and the Senate will vote in favor of it.
Finding the compromise.
Finding the compromise, yes.
We're going to switch to gun violence.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
When the assault weapon or a large capacity magazine is used in a public mass shooting, nearly 14 times as many people are injured, and often twice as many people are killed. Our neighboring states of New York, New Jersey, and Maryland all have assault weapons bans. Would you support a ban for Pennsylvania? Why or why not?
Absolutely. Assault weapons don't belong in homes. They don't belong in the streets. We continue to see some of our neighboring states where there's still a lot of school gun violence. We just had a shooting not too long ago in Georgia, and it's completely unacceptable. And I have to say that in the House, we have passed laws. We've passed laws such as a universal background check. We've passed laws, the red flag laws, safe storage of weapons. And so we're putting in the work in the House. We have been tackling these issues, but again, unfortunately, they get stuck in the Senate. So I'm hopeful, send me back to Harrisburg because we want to keep chiseling. Assault weapons should not be allowed in anyone's household, and much less in the streets.
And our next question was on that secure weapons storage. So you'd be in favor of a law supporting it?
Yes. In fact, I have a colleague who has a bill. It hasn't come out of committee yet, but I signed on to that bill as well for properly storing. And also, if I may add, we also have a bill so that if you own a weapon and you lose it or get stolen, that you have to report it within 24 hours, I believe.
So police need to be on the alert.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when parents don't have a secured weapon in their house, would they be accountable for crimes committed by their children if the children get hold of the guns? Would you favor that?
I think parents should be held accountable because when you commit to owning a weapon, right, there's a responsibility that comes with owning a weapon, and you should be following that, making sure that your arms are properly stored, that they're put away, that they're safe, right? And if you're going to have a weapon, then educate your children about what's the proper use for it. And it's not a toy. And so, yes, I think parents should be held accountable.
Mm-hmm. Bringing in a federal law, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, that has $50 million in federal grants to state with red flag warning laws. And for our viewers, let me note that these allow a court to determine if a violent person may own a gun. And such laws are often used in domestic abuse cases. So that's what their prime function is. And I think you've just said Pennsylvania should have a law?
So we passed a law in the House.
But it's going nowhere because
it's going nowhere. And I hope that our viewers understand. I really want viewers to understand that they are very much a part of this process, and that every decision that we make while we're at work in Harrisburg they can tune in. Every conversation that we're having, when we're having committee meetings, when we're on the floor, they can tune in and learn how their elected officials are making decisions.
And then they can act by contacting those officials.
Yes, absolutely. They can call us, email us, rally us, visit us in Harrisburg, visit us in our district offices, and let us know what they think and what they feel, why they support or oppose, and how we can fix it.
So if they like something you're doing, they need to find where the blockage is and contact those people.
Right, and help us get it passed, help us get it to the finish line, absolutely.
Yeah. Berks County, as you well know, is 50% agricultural, and we know growing seasons have changed. And though we've been spared the destruction of massive wildfires, we certainly have seen our share of floods, drought, destructive storms. Should we do more to protect our economy by doing more to protect climate change? And what actions do you think the legislature should take?
So Judith, I fortunately I serve on the Agriculture Committee, and it's been a learning experience, learning about the needs of some of our farmers. And recently also with this budget, we incorporated we allocated funding to create some innovative type of programming for agriculture so that we can provide farmers with some of the tools and resources that they need.
Did that get passed by the Senate also?
It's in the budget.
It did pass.
It did pass.
Okay.
Right. So there is some innovative program to address some of the needs that some of our farmers are experiencing due to the climate change. And so I look forward, again, to going back to Harrisburg to keep channeling away at that. And also, as I'm learning more about urban agriculture, right? Because as a lot of people are developing a lot of illnesses. I've seen an increase in cancer and people passing, and it's due to what we're consuming, the water that we're drinking. At least I believe that. And so I think that we have an opportunity to teach our community maybe how to grow their own, we need to be investing in more community gardens. we got to go back to the basics and like really protect our soil, because food is medicine. And so it's all intertwined, and we need to be involved as legislators to making sure that we're providing opportunities for healthier lifestyles for our residents.
And where we have dilapidated properties, those grounds might be good for gardening.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
Had a program,
We used to have a greenhouse, and as a small business owner, I would donate some of my coffee grind waste to turn into fertilizer. So there's so many opportunities, and I'm looking forward to going to Harrisburg and figuring out how we can do more composting, really start educating people about their environment and how they play a part in.
Left, unfortunately, and more than 5 questions. So we'll go a little shorter, I think, on our questions to get them all in. And I was going to ask next about fuel, fossil fuel versus the sustainable energies. And should our laws and our budget support more one than the other, or both the same? And should state regulation require the same safety standards for both? And let's take 30 seconds so we get back on time.
I mean, your question is, should we be involved?
Yeah, what should the state be doing?
So, we are lawmakers, and as we're allocating funding and passing a budget, we have to keep that in mind, right? Sustainability is key to the success of everything that we do. And so, and this may or may not be relative, but I don't know if you're aware, or if the public is aware about the Solar for Schools program and how to utilize air to generate some of our energy. And also there's a community solar program as well to making sure that people are tapping into alternative ways of getting your energy,
so something
and making it sustainable.
We're going to talk to gerrymandering, because one of the reasons we have the problems we do with the legislature getting along is that. So for our home viewers, we get a census every 10 years, and then the legislature leaders draw up new district lines, and they do that behind closed doors. There's no transparency. And there's a bill in the House, 1776, that would create instead an independent committee to do that work. How do you feel about that? Would you vote?
I believe I signed on to that bill. And I had my constituents come into my office and talk about it. And I believe that government is of the people, for the people, and by the people. And we should have a transparent process. And everyone should be at the table. And I believe that we should have citizen input at all times in the work that we do. So absolutely, I support that, yes.
And the second reason seats are won in the closed primary. We're one of 9 states that's still holding on to it. And that leaves out 1.2 million voters. Should we change how we run our primary?
I think we should have open primaries. I think we have to empower our community to be part of the decision-making process. And, unfortunately, like, politics and party affiliations and party ideologies has become ugly. And I find more people becoming independent. They don't want to be affiliated with either party. And so I think we should open up our primary so that everyone has an opportunity to voice their opinion as to who they want to see at the general election and who they want to see representing them.
Okay. Now, bipartisanship and compromise are rare at the State House. There are few accomplishments, even though the majority of citizens might agree on something. What do you feel you could do to improve bipartisanship? And let's just take 30 seconds.
Sure. So, what I've been doing as a state representative is building relationships across the aisle. And, when we're outside of the floor, we have these conversations. Maybe we need to start on the things that we do agree on and then take it from there. We can't just go head on talking about our differences and what we're not going to be able to reach a compromise on. And so I look forward to going back to Harrisburg. And as I'm continuing to build and sustain those relationships, I remain hopeful that we will continue to have more bipartisan legislations in place and really do the work that we were elected to do to serve all people in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. And now we have about 30 seconds for you to make a closing statement.
Sure. So District 129, I've always been your servant leader. It's been an honor to serve you. You know, this is your time to decide if you want to give me another chance, if you want to rehire me, because at the end of the day, I work for you. I'm here to serve you, and my priority is always going to be you. And so I look forward to continue to be serving you as your state representative. And please make sure to go out and vote, because there's so much at stake. We have to make sure we do everything in our power to protect our fundamental rights and our fundamental freedoms. So I'm counting on you November 5th. Go cast your vote. Your vote is your voice, and your voice is your power. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Ms. Lupita Freitas, for sharing your views with us.
Thank you.
And viewers, please remember there is another candidate for the 129th PA House District, Susan G. Larkin, and she had not scheduled an interview when we taped this one. So to check your voting status, go to vote.pa.gov. You can register, change your party, locate your polling place, or apply for an absentee or mail-in ballot. The deadline to register is October 21st. The deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot is October 29th. And then check the League's online voters guide, vote411.org, and you can confirm your voting district and get more information on the candidates. All you do is type in your address. It's very easy, and it doesn't hold your address, so there's no risk of security. It's a great program. And the other option, of course, is to contract Berks County Election Services at elections@countyofberks.com. Thank you for watching Candidates Up Front. I'm Judith Cranis. Good day.